Hello, English learners. Welcome to the English Insight Podcast. Today, we are not just learning English, we are stepping inside the mind of a man who quietly changed how the world communicates. This is not a story about confidence. It is not a story about motivation speeches or loud success. It is a story about silence, about focus, about the heavy cost of building something that can never be undone. In this video, you will hear the life story of Mark Zuckerberg, but not the version you see in headlines, not the version told in interviews, and not the version simplified into success quotes. You will hear the inner story, the pressure, the isolation, the responsibility of influencing billions of lives. And here is the important part for you as an English learner. This story is designed to help you learn English naturally, not by memorizing grammar, not by forcing vocabulary, but by listening, feeling, and following meaning. As you listen, do this. Focus on the rhythm. Notice how emotions change the voice. Let the pauses help your brain understand, not translate. This is story-based learning, the most powerful way to improve your listening, pronunciation, and intuition in English. So don't rush, don't skip, don't multitask. Stay with the story, let it slow you down, let it pull you in. Because by the end of this video, you will not only understand English better, you may understand success differently. And now, take a breath. Lower the volume of the world and step into the quiet life story of Mark Zuckerberg. If this story helps you feel English instead of translating it, if it makes you think deeper than usual, subscribe to English Insight Podcast because we don't teach English loudly, we teach it deeply. Share this video with someone who wants real English, not fast tricks. And stay with us, because the best stories don't teach fast, they stay with you. And that's what makes life human. Mark Zuckerberg's life story. He is the quiet face behind one of the loudest platforms in human history. A young programmer who changed how billions of people talk, share, argue, love, and even see themselves. And his name is Mark Zuckerberg. He was born in 1984 in a quiet town in New York, into a family that valued learning, logic, and discipline. And from a very early age, his mind worked differently, not louder, not faster in speech, but deeper in focus. While other kids played games, he was building them, not for attention, not for praise, but because his brain felt calm when solving problems, when systems made sense, when code obeyed logic. His father noticed this early, hired a tutor, and Mark fell deeper into programming, creating simple tools, messaging systems, and small games, not knowing yet that one day he would build a digital world where billions would live parts of their lives. Then came Harvard, a place full of ambition, pressure, and competition, where everyone believed they were special. And Mark, socially awkward, emotionally distant, but mentally sharp, felt both inspired and isolated at the same time. His first big conflict didn't come from the outside world. It came from inside his dorm room. Late nights, glowing screens, and an idea that started as curiosity and slowly turned into obsession. He built a small website to rate classmates, not thinking about consequences, just code and reaction. And overnight, it exploded. Not in success, but in controversy. The university was furious, students felt exposed, and Mark faced discipline, judgment, and public criticism for the first time. And that moment planted a seed of doubt, but also something stronger, a question that would not leave him alone. What if people actually wanted to be connected? What if identity, friendship, and visibility could live online? From that tension, Facebook was born, not as a company, but as a simple tool, a digital Facebook for students, quiet, clean, addictive in its simplicity. But success never comes alone. It brings shadows. And very quickly, lawsuits followed. Friends turned into rivals, trust broke, and Mark was accused of stealing ideas, of betrayal, of ambition without loyalty. He was young, inexperienced, and suddenly standing in rooms with lawyers, investors, and egos much bigger than his own. And behind the calm face was pressure that could crush most people. He didn't respond with emotion. He responded with focus. While others argued, he coded. While others complained, he built. And Facebook kept growing, campus by campus, city by city, country by country, until it stopped being a website and became a global habit. But growth has a cost, and as billions joined, questions grew louder about privacy, power, manipulation, and control. And Mark, once the quiet student, became a symbol, admired by some, attacked by others. He faced governments, hearings, cameras, and accusations that his platform was shaping elections, damaging mental health, and dividing societies. And for the first time, success felt heavy. Still, he didn't walk away. He leaned in, defended his vision, admitted mistakes without fully surrendering control, and continued to believe that connection, even when messy, was better than silence. Then came the next transformation. Facebook became Meta, a shift toward the future, virtual worlds, digital identities, and a gamble so big that even supporters questioned his judgment. Billions were invested, critics laughed, stock prices fell, and once again, Mark Zuckerberg stood at the edge of failure or reinvention. He chose reinvention, not loudly, not emotionally, but with the same quiet persistence that defined his childhood, trusting process over applause, long-term vision over short-term comfort. Today, he is one of the most powerful figures in technology, not because he speaks the best or inspires crowds with words, but because he stayed with his ideas longer than most people can tolerate doubt. His story is not about charisma. It is about focus, not about perfection, but about endurance, about building through criticism, surviving controversy, and carrying the weight of influence without ever fully escaping its consequences. Mark Zuckerberg's life shows that success does not always look confident. Sometimes it looks quiet, stubborn, misunderstood, and deeply committed to a vision that only one person can see at the beginning. And the world he built continues to shape the world we live in, whether we notice it or not, whether we like it or not, still growing, still changing, still unfinished. And that's what makes life human. And yet, even with all this power, the story does not slow down. It becomes more complex, more fragile, and more human. Because the hardest challenge was never building Facebook, it was living with what it became. Every update changed behavior. Every decision affected millions. Every mistake echoed worldwide. Mark learned that influence is a quiet prison. You are free to create, but never free from consequences. He started speaking differently, slower, more carefully, choosing words like someone walking on thin ice, knowing that one sentence could move markets or spark outrage. Behind closed doors, the pressure never stopped. Competitors rising, governments watching, users demanding trust while still craving attention. And still, he stayed. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because leaving would mean abandoning the responsibility he helped create. This phase of his life was not about growth, it was about control. Control of data, of direction, of a future that was no longer just his dream. Meta became a bet on tomorrow, on virtual reality, digital identity, and a world that does not exist yet. A move many called reckless, others called visionary. Losses came, criticism grew louder, confidence was tested again. But this time, he was no longer a student, no longer a young founder. He was a leader carrying the weight of history, money, and expectation. And here is the quiet truth of his story. Success does not end struggle. It changes it. The higher you rise, the fewer people understand your silence. Mark Zuckerberg's life is not a straight line upward. It is a long negotiation between vision and reality, between control and chaos, between connection and isolation. He built something that cannot be undone, only managed, adjusted, and questioned again and again. And maybe that is the real lesson hidden inside his journey, that creating the future means accepting that you will never fully control it. Some people chase success to feel free. Others discover that success asks for a different kind of courage. His story is still being written, the outcome is still uncertain, and the risk is still there. If this story made you think, pause, or see success differently, stay here. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story that goes deeper than headlines. Share this episode with someone who believes success is simple, because it never is. And remember, the most powerful stories are not about winning fast. They are about staying when walking away would be easier.